It's just so progressive. Watching Disney and Marvel empower women by making sure their actresses are never again hypersexualized on screen simply to appeal to the male gaze.
And flick.
Being a kid in the 80s was great. Video games were everywhere. Great music, incredible movies and TV shows, and the advent of cable TV in most homes. And if you were anything like me, that meant gratuitous nudity. This was anything from some oddly placed though much appreciated nudity in a PG fantasy movie to whatever it was that might be playing late night on Cinemax. And I won't even address the amount of time we spent trying to decipher what we're seeing here. Let's face it, this was the heyday of this kind of thing. We even had an entire genre of movie, the teen sex comedy, that existed almost entirely to shoehorn in some gratuitous nudity and sex. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, it was glorious. Now, we'd never heard of a casting couch, had no idea that for decades women had been subject to who knows what behind the scenes to get opportunities to even play these roles. All we knew was that when we saw a PG-13 or R-rated movie, there was a solid shot we were going to see some boobs, and that was all right by us. So when all the Me Too stuff started, thanks to this fat asshole here, you could feel all the air being let out of the balloon. With the internet around, there was already fewer movies with gratuitous nudity, but even so, it was obvious the party was over. And that was fine. It was clear much of that had been unnecessary. I mean, fun, but unnecessary. It was time to move on and grow, as they like to say in more progressive circles. But a funny thing happened on the way to Whole Foods. It seems we didn't grow so much as we just shifted that awful focus. Think Marvel superheroes. Instead of the lesson being that the overt sexualization of actors for the titillation of moviegoers was bad, the lesson learned seemed to be, well, I mean, it's awful when it happens to women, but it's perfectly fine when we sexualize men, which is just so hilariously on brand for the people making decisions in Hollywood now, isn't it? Without double standards that have no standards at all. Starting with the very first movie, thanks to the fact that until they decided to shift the entire focus away from male heroes, most of the actors were men. And in nearly every single one of Marvel's movies from Iron Man through Endgame, there was a scene present that seemed to exist for no other reason than to have a guy standing around with his shirt off. On the flip side, I can only think of 2 or 3 times the entire first 3 phases where an actress was even shot to highlight her physique, let alone show any real skin. On the contrary, in most cases, female heroes were shoved into some of the most unappealing costumes imaginable, all to try and avert that very male gaze that often had made their comic characters popular and memorable. And I know what you're thinking.
Why?
Why the obvious double standard, Marvel? Well, I've got a theory. Let me know what you think. Modern women complain about everything. All right, settle down, ladies. Hear me out, though. How often have you heard women talk about unrealistic body standards?
A lot.
Exactly. Every time you turn around, you've got a story about how Barbies don't look like real women, or Victoria's Secret models don't either, or the mannequins at Target are also unrealistic. So what happens after these complaints? Well, they're all listened to and addressed as if they're legit. So now you've got fat acceptance movements, dolls that look more real, and whatever the hell this shit is.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
See, men don't complain about any of this. We don't see a He-Man action figure and want to change because his physique is unobtainable. We see a medium shirt stretched across a ripped mannequin and think nothing of it. And I'm not sure if most ladies grasp this, but if your average 90s swimsuit model was an unrealistic body type for most women, so is Chris Hemsworth for nearly every man. And yet, when we go see a Thor movie and Hemsworth rips his shirt off, what we're thinking is, I gotta get to the gym as soon as I'm done with this box of Raisinets. Just gotta be careful though, because I don't want to get too big. What we don't do is demand less fit actors so that we can see ourselves on screen. That would be fucking absurd. Now, I'm not suggesting Marvel or anyone else would listen to men complaining about this, even if we did. It would absolutely fall on deaf ears. We're currently in the revenge phase of the Western world, where we've acknowledged wrongs from the past, but seem to think that the best way of moving past them is doing the same things in reverse to people who look like the people who did bad things in the past. It's a spectacular plan for sure, and I can't see any way it'll fail. In the meantime, if Marvel's blatant double standard has you down, just remember you can always play Fast Times at Ridgemont High in your mind's eye. Now, I gotta get to the gym. Until next time, thanks for watching.